Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto stays away from Sakura movie. Subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's start the story. Naruto took a look over the Konoha village on top of the Hokage's mountain. He stood there dreamingly, watching all the activities between the villagers. Flashback. Naruto. I'm sorry, but you can't become a Hokage, Tsunade said in her choking voice. She was about to cry, no doubt. What do you mean I can't? Do you know that being a Hokage is my dream? My ambition. Naruto. Listen to me. Listen to me, I'm sorry, but you can't. The city's council won't allow you to. Even I, the Hokage, must obey the decision of the city's damn council. I'm sad to say this, but you could never become a Hokage. Tsunade was in tears. She couldn't hold back her tears, and it flowed like a broken dam. Ah-chan. Can't you change their mind or something? Naruto was stumbling backwards. It was as if he couldn't accept the truth. The painful truth. The truth is that he can't become a Hokage. I'm sorry, but I tried my best. And all I can do is to keep you from being a ninja. They tried to strip you of your ninja's qualification, but at least I prevented that from happening. Tsunade sighed. And flashback. I've done much, so much countless even, all for this Leaf Village, a village that won't even accept me, no matter what I've done for them, even if I risk my soul. Flashback. Chidori. Sasuke rammed his most powerful attack right in Naruto's chest. He grinned evilly as he continued on to deepen the wound. Naruto was coughing blood, causing it to splatter everywhere. Naruto got up to his fighting stance and formed a blue sphere of chakra. One of his favorite moves, Rasengan. Rasengan. Naruto shouted as he aimed the blue sphere at Sasuke's legs, only to find out that he had already dodged it. Shit. Naruto thought as he did a backflip and made one of his trademark Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto shouted as he formed 5 perfect clones of him and got ready for the next move as he knew Sasuke couldn't stand it anymore because he's tired, as well as Naruto. He won't be able to stand my last attacks and we have to end it now, none of us could continue the fight after this, Naruto thought as he shouted again, Zu. Ma. Kai. Naruto Renden. As he and his other 5 clones did their part, Sasuke fell onto the ground hard on his back. Naruto too fell on his knees soon after he landed on the ground, running out of stamina and chakra. A few seconds later Naruto stood up and walked toward Sasuke with a hint of pain caused by his pair of legs. Then he carried Sasuke with his uninjured hand and placed him on his back before he started to walk back towards Konoha village. Scene break. When he was home, he brought back the traitor, the Uchiha prodigy that had been loved by all, but in bad condition no less. Demon. What have you done? Get away from him. A man threw a few rocks towards Naruto, and Naruto couldn't dodge it, considering that he was dying. Naruto almost collapsed when he spotted his crush, Sakura, running with a worried expression on her face. Naruto knew it wasn't meant for him, but he never thought that her next move would scar his life. Naruto. Why did you hurt him? I asked you to bring him back, but I never asked you to hurt him. They were right, the villagers were right. You are a monster. You're a demon. Stay away from my Sasuke-kun. Sakura yelled right at his face as she slapped him right across his cheek. Sakura-chan, don't call me Sakura-chan. You're nothing but a horrible, hideous creature masked with human skin. Now stay away from me and my Sasuke-kun. She cut off Naruto's words with hers and threw him a disgusted glare. Naruto wanted to say something, but he decided not to, as he carried his almost lifeless body towards the place one would call home, but to him it's hell. Then flashback, he looked at the scenery of the Konoha village again before he decided. There's no place for me in this place, no, better yet, no one would accept me the way I am, no one aside from Iruka-sensei, but what could one do against millions of people? Nothing, and I'll never put him in spite of danger, just because he supports me, Naruto sighed, and was determined to end his life right then and there. Better now or never. And with that he jumped off the Hokage mountain despite his fears and his will to live. After a few minutes he was found on the ground, dead with a folded letter in his clenched fist, unwilling to let it go. The letter was meant for Iruka, and it read, "Dear Iruka-sensei, a friend like you is almost too good to be true. The laughter, the tears, we have been through them over the years. The time we have shared, no one could compare. The lessons we have learned, the times we have been burned, the moments together we have made, those will never fade. Our friendship can grow stronger if only things have gone right. I just wanted you to know how much I cherish you so. P.S. I hope you won't be sad by the fact I'm no longer alive, especially when you're reading this letter. I can't hold my mask any longer, it's falling apart, and I've decided to take this road. When I found out the people I trust, I mean my teammates, had betrayed me and that they never did care about me. I was sad and shocked as well, but it's alright now, Iruka-sensei, I could finally rest myself in peace and finally free from the hatred of the villagers. And as for you, I hope you'll be fine with my decision, it's for the best after all, so please don't be mad with me, okay? Wish you all the best, live your life to the fullest. Your Naruto, meet me in the next realm. Just kidding, don't take it seriously, I am so gonna miss you. Iruka read the letter again, and every time he did that, tears flowed from his eyes. Why? Why? Naruto? Why must you do this? Why? Iruka screamed his heart out as he kneeled beside Naruto's lifeless body. The end is it. 4 years later, Konoha village. Okay class, you're dismissed, Iruka said as he closed the book that he was holding. Iruka looked at his students and chuckled at the sight of them pushing each other to get through the door. After a few minutes there was nothing in the classroom except for Iruka, standing with the dust floating around in the air. Iruka sighed as he slumped his body on his chair. 10th September. It's exactly 4 years after you died, Naruto. I miss you so much. I hope you're doing fine in the next realm, as you called it. I'm doing fine here, like you wished me to in your letter. I really hope you're still alive, because things had never been the same with you. Gone. Sasuke is now a lot more quiet than he used to be. Sakura had focused on training instead of love, often locked herself in her room, and so on. You'll never thought that you had affected so much people unknowingly, would you? Iruka thought as he took a glance at his watch. Holy shit. I'm gonna be late for the teachers' meeting. Iruka yelled as he jumped out from his chair. Iruka ran off to the staff room, panicked, carrying a few heavy books. As soon as he entered the room he slammed the door shut, making the other teachers stare at him. Hi, sorry I'm late for the meeting, Iruka said sheepishly. The principal looked at him then said, late again, Iruka-san. Looks like you're rubbing off Kakashi's habit. Never mind, taking a seat and continuing on with their discussion. Phew, that was close. As you can see, Naruto, I started to rub off Kakashi's habit. It's not like I want to, so now I'm leading a better life. Iruka shrugged off before he continued on his thoughts. You can say that anyway, but it's much more lonelier since you're not here with me. I miss you very, very much. Iruka was about to add on another thought when he heard someone coughing, breaking the silence in the staff room. Iruka had his head up only to meet the principal's sharp eyes straight into his eyes. Iruka-san, would you like to share some of your thoughts with us? Iruka looked at him for a few minutes before he croaked out his voice. What? Other side of Konoha. Sasuke was practicing his Katen on the dummy in the training field and stopped after a few times as he fell on his knees, breathing heavily due to the lack of oxygen. After he regained control of the air coming in and out of his lungs, he decided to take a rest under the big tree. As he rested his body against the tree, he started to remember the time when he was told that Naruto died. Flashback. Sasuke had just woken up from his few weeks of coma. He was confused as to why he was in hospital. Then he heard the footsteps of someone walking towards the room he was in. He pretended to be asleep so that they wouldn't find out that he's awake. Then the doorknob finally turned slowly and the door screeched open. A girl with pink hair walked in quietly so that she wouldn't make noises. Sasuke saw her and decided to ask her the questions that had been running in his mind. Sakura? Sasuke asked hesitantly. Sakura dropped the vase she was holding as soon as she heard some familiar voice that she had been longing to hear this past few weeks. She turned her head in his direction and found out that he's finally awake. Sasuke-kun. You're awake. I was so worried about you. How are you feeling? Do you feel better? Do you want to drink water? Do you want to get something? What is it? Tell me. Sakura asked continuously without stopping and thus making Sasuke lose his patience. Silence. Sasuke finally shouted. Sakura was taken aback by his sudden outburst. She stayed silent, decided that she should wait for Sasuke to talk before she did. After a few minutes of silence, Sasuke finally talks, much to Sakura's delight. All I want to ask is, why am I here? Sasuke stared at Sakura, and that made Sakura feel even happier because she had gotten Sasuke's attention. I told you that he would pay his attention to you, her inner self said, grinning like an idiot, while her outer self got carried away with fantasies and dreams that would never come true. Sakura, called Sasuke, a little bit strict. Sakura was finally awake from her little fantasies with drools at the side of her mouth. Yes, Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked as she wiped off her drools with a piece of tissue. Sasuke looked away disgustingly as he mentally slapped himself at the sight of her. Why do I even bother asking her? He thought when he heard her answers. You were in a coma for a few weeks. That Naruto had brought you back from the hands of the snake freak. Sasuke stared at the white wall in front of him. He hid his eyes behind the bangs. They stayed like that for a while before Sasuke chuckled darkly. So he brought me back, huh? Yeah. He kept his promise, Sakura stuttered. I'm a bit scared of Sasuke. Where is he? Sasuke asked as he cut off her words. Huh? Sakura stared at him blankly. You heard me, Sasuke said again, as he emitted a few dark purple chakra around his body. Sakura told him softly as she turned her head facing the window. What? And flashback, I still couldn't believe it. I never thought that he'd killed himself. Flashback, he's dead, he's been murdered, Sakura said. She was on the verge of crying. Who? Who murdered him? The Akatsuki? Sasuke asked as he punched the already cracked wall, causing it to collapse. He was murdered by none other than himself, Sakura cried. She cupped her face with her hands. Then flashback, Naruto, we never thought that you had been that important to us. You hold our team together. Without you, our team fell apart. Why must you suicide? I never had a chance to thank you for rescuing me, for helping me in everything, for being my best friend. Sasuke stood up as he brushed off the dirt on his pants. I'm gonna be a Hokage, not cause I want to, but it's your dream. It has been yours all along, and I'm gonna fulfill it for you. And for that, I must train harder so that I'm worthy of that title. With that, Sasuke resumed his training. Ino's flower shop. Hey Ino pig, Sakura greeted the blonde girl at the counter. Sakura hasn't changed that much since the Chunin exam. Her pink hair was still short because she always cut it off once it's longer than her shoulder level. Her face was still pretty much the same, except that she seems more mature. She now wore a short black skirt and a white tank top. She also wore a black fingerless glove and a pair of black boots. It seems that her favorite color has changed from pink to black. What? Forehead girl Ino greeted her back. They have been like that since they were small. That's their way of greeting each other. Ino still wore her purple with a little bluish tank top and a pair of black pants. Her blonde hair had grown back over the past few years. Unlike Sakura, she kept her long hair instead of cutting it off. Nothing really. Just feeling kinda bored. What are you doing? Sakura asked with her cheerful smile. Obviously I'm looking after the shop. What else would I be doing? Ino said in a teasing tone. Sakura scowled at her answer. I know that, Ino pig. I mean like. Ino cut off her words. I just love doing this to her, Ino thought in her mind. Forget it, Sakura said as she left the shop. Wait, Sakura. I'm just kidding. Ino shouted at her. Never mind, I was about to leave anyway. Bye. Sakura's voice faded as she walked further. Whatever, forehead girl, Ino said as she sighed and sat on her chair at the counter. But Sakura walked through the street. She was deep in her thoughts. Stupid Ino pig. I was just about to tell her that I'm gonna be Tsunade's apprentice. Never mind, she'll know about it later, Sakura sighed as she headed to Ichiraku's place. She was fond of this place. It was her previous teammate's favorite. She sighed again after she ordered one regular bowl of miso ramen. Everything hadn't been the same since that tragedy. Naruto, why? I know, I hadn't been a good friend to you. I've betrayed you, I hurt your pride, but most importantly I hurt your feelings. Should I have known that you carried such a big burden since childhood, I'd have nothing for you but respect and love as a friend. Naruto, I'm so sorry for all I've done toward you. I wish I could change everything, but it's just impossible. My heart had broken into pieces when I found out about you, and Kyuubi, I felt guilty. I still am. I miss you terribly, Naruto, I really do. Sakura, you're okay? Sakura was startled when Am, the daughter of the owner of Ichiraku, shaked her shoulder. Yeah. I'm fine, Am, why did you shake my shoulder? Sakura asked as she blinked her eyes a few times. Nothing. It just seems that you were spacing out and your ramen was getting colder, so I decided to, like waking you up or something. Am said as she picked up her tray that was placed on the table. Oh, I see. Anyway, thanks for your concern, but I'm fine, Sakura said in her friendly tone. Sakura and Am were friends, though they're not as close as Sakura was to Ino. Then I should get going. See you later, Sakura. Am waved at her before she got back to work. Sakura sighed as she started eating her miso ramen, treating her still broken heart over her roommate's death. Takashi's apartment. Takashi poured half a liter of milk into his bowl of cereal for breakfast. He ate his breakfast slowly as he watched TV. After a while he shut down the TV and sighed. Everything seems boring now, even my precious books couldn't entertain me that much. After he finished his bowl of cereal he took a nice warm bath and changed into his vest. He took a glance at the clock and noticed it's just 7:15 in the morning. Weird, I woke up early for nothing. Well, let's take a visit at the monument, should we? Kakashi told himself with a cheerful attempt. Kakashi walked there slowly as he hummed his favorite song softly. At the monument, Kakashi stared blankly at the stone monument in front of him. He looked at the names Obito and Rin. He gave a sweet genuine smile when he remembered the time they spent together as a genin team. After a while he spotted the name of a boy that was once his student. A boy that he hadn't taken care of. A boy that he always abandoned. The boy that wore a mask to hide and locked his painful past away, a boy named Uzumaki. Naruto. Kakashi remembered a time when he was heading to the monument like he usually does. Only this time he found Naruto knelt on his knees with his eyes hidden behind his blonde bangs. Kakashi decided to hide himself behind one of the trees, trying to find the other Naruto that has been hidden behind Naruto's cheerful mask. Flashback. Cultivate your hunger before you idealize. Motivate your anger to make them all realize. Climbing the mountain, never coming down. Break into the contents, never falling down. Kakashi heard Naruto sing the song softly. Kakashi saw a tear was streaming down his face as the rain started to pour down heavily. My knee is still shaking, like I was 12, sneaking out of the classroom, by the back door. The man railed at me twice though, but I didn't care. Waiting is wasting, for people like me. Naruto clenched his hand into a tight fist. Kakashi could swear that he heard Naruto mutter a few words under his breath. I'm all alone in this world, no one cares about me, no one did, I'm alone, forever alone. Don't try to live so wise, don't cry cause you're so right. Don't drive with fakes or fears, cause you will hate yourself in the end. He continued to sing that particular song as Kakashi decided to leave the monument. Scene break, yo. Kakashi greeted his team as he stood on the bridge's rail. You're late. Naruto and Sakura shouted as they pointed their index finger towards him. Kakashi noticed that Naruto had returned to his normal self, or so he thought. There was a deep sadness in his blue eyes, unnoticed by any of them. You see, I was lost on the road of life when an old woman asked me to search for her missing bag. Liar. Naruto and Sakura shouted again while Sasuke just HN''d Kakashi. Today's mission is to, then flashback, if only I noticed his sorrow back then, all of this won't happen, it's my fault, Kakashi thought as he mourned for his lost and dead student that had been abandoned and hated by the villagers all his life. Hokage Tower. Tsunade was walking up the stairs, looking as lazy as ever. She was muttering something like sake give some sake. Tsunade was about to reach her secret little cupboard in her very own Hokage office when Shizune came into the picture. Tsunade-sama. That's enough. Can't you get your job done without even touching your so-called lifesaver, meaning, sake? There's a whole lot more paperwork on your desk that needs to be done by tomorrow. Shizune lectured Gaden while Tsunade sat down on her chair and drifted into her own little world. Tsunade-sama. Are you even listening to me? Shizune yelled angrily towards her master. Tsunade was sighing deeply as she nodded. Tsunade-sama. Are you okay? Shizune asked softly as she was concerned with Tsunade's lack of reply or whatever it is. Boy Shizune, did you know what day it is today? Tsunade asks, showing no emotions on her face. Gone was her lazy and angry serious face. She walked to the window and stared outside throughout the village. Today? Shizune had a confused look on her face as she thought something inside her mind. There's something wrong with Tsunade-sama. Why did she suddenly ask me what's the date today? Normally she won't even care about it. Oh, maybe it's not the date she was asking me, maybe it's an event or something. Today's 10th September. Wait a minute, today's Naruto-kun, Shizune answered Tsunade hesitantly as she looked down at her own foot. Yeah, today's the day he's gone from Konoha and this world, Tsunade said as she started to croak in her voice. Shizune walked towards her and gave her a big caring hug. You've done nothing to those fucking villagers. He even tried helping them when they didn't even. Tsunade began to cry uncontrollably. Shizune hushed Tsunade softly as a tear flew from her eyes. I miss him, Shizune, I miss his grin, his face, his laugh, his voice. Tsunade sobbed even harder, breaking the mask she had worn for the past 4 years since Naruto's death. Shizune hugged her tightly as she whispered a few words. I know Tsunade-sama, I know I miss him too. They both stayed that way for the rest of the day, clinging to each other for comfort. Hyuga Mansion. Hinata-sama, please eat something. You haven't touched your food for the past few days. You're gonna die of hunger if you keep going on like this. Niji knocked Hinata's door a few times, then sighed. She's been doing this lately, especially when it's September. She took the news of Naruto's death hard and blamed it on herself for not confessing her feelings towards him earlier and changed his life back then. Just let me die then. There's no more purpose for me to live anyway. I've endured every second of pain living when I knew he's gone. I'll be glad to leave this world. Hinata's depressed voice rang throughout the hall. Hinata-sama, go away. I don't need you. I don't need any of you. I need him. She shouted angrily to Niji through her locked door. Niji was lost for words. Never had he seen her like this. He knew that she admired Naruto and everything, but he never thought she'd change from being shy and timid into some depressed and upset girl. Now what am I supposed to do? Guess I'll do nothing except for leaving her alone. Niji sighed again as he left Hinata's room and took another shot of thought about Naruto's death that had seriously affected her. Somewhere in the forest far away from Konoha, Jiraiya sat on a big log near a fire. He stared blankly at the small fire right in front of him. He's been camping on the same spot for the past few days, and surprisingly he never had a thought about cute girls or doing his so-called research, since his favorite blonde student Uzumaki Naruto was all that he thinks about. That stupid brat. What did he do that for? Jiraiya said suddenly to no one in particular but himself. His white long hair had grown longer since Naruto's death. Well, it's not like he intended to cut his white, that's what he calls it, hair. He sighed as he looked up into the endless sky. It's been 2 years since my last visit to Konoha. I wanted to keep it that way, but something told me to go back there this time. He sighed again as he stood up and brushed dirt off his pants. I hope she's okay with Naruto's death. It's been 4 years since he died and left us forever. Why am I getting so emotional all of a sudden? But then, it's still a mystery how his body went missing so suddenly. He looked back at the small fire and took out a bottle of sake from his pocket, pulled the cork, then drank the whole bottle. "This hic is very Jiraiya," said as he continued on hiccuping. He settled down to his sleeping bed after he drank another bottle of fresh water. "I'm going back to the village, I guess, Naruto. Hope you can watch over Tsunade and everyone else. Tch, I don't know why, but now I started to miss you, calling me Erosen and Henite to you wherever you are," he thought again before he finally drifted to sleep. Front gate of Konoha. Two figures approach the Konoha main gate. One of them appears to be a girl with long red hair tied into a cute ponytail. She wore dark blue pants matched with a purple tank top. Her eyes were blue in color, just like Naruto's blue sky eyes. "Henshu, are you sure this is the place?" the girl asked her partner, who stood beside her sweetly. "Yeah, I guess." Her partner seems to be a boy, since his voice was much rougher than hers. His face was hidden behind the hood that he wore. The only things that could be seen were his pants and his shoes. The rest of his clothes were hidden behind his cloak. His pants were black in color, while his cloak was dark brown. "You guess?" the girl shouted again towards him. He just sighed and looked towards her. "Yes, Aka. I guessed cause I've never been to Konoha before, so I don't know what it looks like or how big it is," he said with a hint of sarcasm in his voice. "But you said you, Bikaru. When I said I've never been here before or I don't know how it looks, I mean it, okay?" He cut off her words and replaced them with his own words in "I said that and I mean it" tone. She just nodded and kept her mouth shut after that. The boy, in other words, Kenshu, just hugged her and whispered, "That's my girl." He let go of her and gave her a small smile. Bikaru blushed as she looked at him. She blushed even more when she somehow found out he was smiling under that hood of his. Oh my god. He's just so cute. Especially when he's smiling like this. Bikaru, Aka for short, thought as she turned away from him and slipped on the mud. She managed to shout before she fell. "Actually, I almost fell." Kenshu managed to catch her around the waist before she fell. "Be careful," he said as he pulled her up. Her face was burning red with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," she said as she looked down at her feet. "Don't be. You're always like this," Kenshu said as he chuckled. "Hey. Don't laugh," Aka said as she pulled his cloak revealing blue sky eyes and spunky blonde hair that was hidden beneath his hood just now. One could mistake him for Naruto, however he does not have those whiskers that Naruto had. "Well, it's not the first time. You're too clumsy," Kenshu said again as he laughed harder. "Oh come on. You're such a meanie," Aka said as she pretended to sulk. Okay, I'm sorry there, I've said the magical word. So could you forgive me?" he said again as he knelt down on a knee. "Ugh. Fine. Kenshu. How come you always get me to forgive you just like that?" Aka asked as she signaled him to stand up. He stood up and chuckled again. "That's my secret. You could always call it my charm," he grinned. She blushed again as she looked at him. She tried to hide it, but to no avail. So she changed the subject instead. "So where are we gonna sleep?" "Sleep?" he asked as he turned his head towards the main gate. "Oh, it's close. Guess we have to camp again. You don't have any objection, do you?" "Nah, I'm fine with it," she said as she gave him a smile. They both got their sleeping bag ready and made a small fire to lighten up their place. "Good night, Aka," Kenshu said as he watched her sleep. "Good night," she mumbled as she drifted off to a deep slumber. "Yes, I'll sleep too," Kenshu said as he yawned and got himself into his sleeping bag. The next morning, Kenshu yawned again as he got up from his sleeping bag. He stood on the ground and stretched his arms and legs. After he finished stretching them, he went deeper into the forest for his usual morning training. He found a nice clearing that's perfect for his ninjutsu and taijutsu training. Kenshu started the training with a few push-ups and then a few continued on with punching and kicking a log, just like Lee's training. After a while Kenshu decided to advance his training, so he created 5 cage bunchins to fight with. Kenshu lied down after all that tiring training. He gasped for air as he breathed it in and out heavily. He started to relax and felt calm when, "Kenshu? It's breakfast time," Hikaru shouted from afar. "Got it?" Kenshu replied to her as he got up from the ground and walked towards their camping ground last night. "That smells good, what's for breakfast today?" he asked when he reached there. "Oh, come on. You know what it is. It's steamed fish, as usual." "Here's yours," Aka said as she handed Kenshu 2 fishes that had been wrapped in a leaf. "Thanks, Aka. Have you eaten yours?" Kenshu asked as he unwrapped the leaf. "No, I'm on a diet," she said again as she started to pack their things, including their sleeping bags. "What? No, you can't do that." "The what?" "You must eat your breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. Do you know that?" He started to lecture Aka, but got interrupted by her growling stomach. Aka's face turned as red as a tomato as embarrassment was shown on her face. "See? Even your stomach complained." "Take this," he said as he handed her one of his fishes. "But that's yours," she said. "Oh come on, just take it and eat it up, okay?" "Oh fine." She took the fish from his hand and ate it silently. Scene break. Aka, you're ready yet? Kenshu asked as he carried a backpack on his back. Wait. Okay. I'm ready. Let's go. Aka shouted as she carried another backpack. Right. They walked towards Konoha's main gate. Aka was humming happily while Kenshu remained silent. Phew, we're finally here. Well, not really, but we're heading there so it's the same, right? Anyway, when we arrive there, first we should get a place to stay. I heard there's a nice inn there. After that we should grab something to eat and then oh yeah, Grandpa asked us to make a request for a few excellent ninjas too. Kenshu. We're here. Aka shouted to his ear excitedly. You don't need to shout. I can hear you just fine. Geez, my ears will stop functioning if you keep going on like this, Kenshu said as he checked his ears to make sure they're functioning accordingly. Oops. Sorry. It just seems that you were spacing out and never mind huh? We're here already. Wow, that was fast. There, in front of him was the site of Konoha village. They were both stunned by the size of the peaceful village. Man, that's its way much bigger than our village. Come on. Let's enter. Aka said as she grabbed Kenshu's arm and pulled him into the village just to be stopped by two ninjas that were guarding the main gate. What business do you have here? Kitetsu, the first ninja, asked. He had spunky black hair and what seemed like a bandage above his nose. He wore a green vest. Where are you from? Another Konoha ninja named Hade asked. We're from the Wave Country and we're here for sight. Kenshu covered her mouth and quickly finished off her lines. We're here to request some help that's needed by our village. Is that so? Kitetsu raised his eyebrows as he questioned them. Well, yeah, Kenshu nodded. Show us your passports. Hade said in an emotionless tone. Kenshu turned to face Aka only to find out that she almost got suffocated by Kenshu's hand that accidentally covered her nose as well. He quickly let go of his hand and muttered a quick sorry to her. Aka coughed as she breathed in an amount of air that she needed desperately. After a while her once blue face returned to her normal color. Sorry, Kenshu said as he patted her back. I didn't mean to. Well, Aka scowled and cut off his words. You don't have to be sorry, cause you're gonna pay for what you did. A devilish grin formed on her cute face. Kenshu sighed as he put his hand on his forehead, muttering not again softly so that he's the only one that can hear that. But unfortunately Aka heard that. Oh yes, Kenshu dear again. She said as she started to laugh maniacally. Aka and Kenshu looked and searched for the voice, only to find that Hade was tapping his foot impatiently. Oh yeah. Aka, the passport. Give it to me, quickly. Kenshu whispered to Aka. Aka sat down on the grass and opened her backpack. She took out a few unexpected things such as pots, pans, dolls, swords, knives, books, and clothes. Well, that was expected, the clothes, but oh my god, how did she put all those massive things inside her small backpack? Kitetsu thought as Hade and Kenshu sweat dropped at her actions. Here it is. Aka said as she put the passports on top of one of the thick books that she pulled out from her backpack just now. Kenshu sighed and helped Aka put back her things after he handed the passports to the two ninjas. Hade opened the passport's cover and read the details. After a while he gave it to Kitetsu who soon read the same thing. Kenshu's name. Kenshu, no surname. Birth date. Unknown due to the loss of memories. Age. About 17 for year. Country. Wave. Ninja rank. Aka's name. Akaru, no surname. Birth date. Unknown due to the loss of memories. Age. About 17 for year. Country. Wave. Ninja rank. So both of them are indeed from the Wave Country and they're not ninjas I see and both of them lost their memories. Interesting, Kitetsu thought as he handed the passports to Kenshu. Can we go in now? Aka whined. Of course, enjoy your stay in Konohagakure, Hade said as he opened the main gate for the two to enter. Aka pulled Kenshu into the village while he was bound to Hade and Kitetsu. Hade looked at the duo until they're lost in sight. He looked at Kitetsu and asked him one question that had been running through his mind. Don't you think the boy looks familiar? Kitetsu turned his head towards him and nodded. Yeah, I think I've seen him before, but not the girl him. Don't you think it's quite mysterious and interesting that they both lost their memories? Kitetsu asked as sat down on a chair and wiped off sweats from his face. Kind of, Hade said as he drank a gulp of water and sat down on another chair. But Kenshu and Aka say, let's visit the famous Hokage mountains. The red-haired girl suggested to her partner. They had already found an inn to stay during the time they're here and it was quite cheap too if you compare the inn in Wave Country with the one in Konoha. Kenshu sighed. Aka, for the 1000th time, no. We're not here for fun. Grandpa entrusted us to request for a mission. You know, to get rid of the thieves. They were both walking through the market streets looking for some nice place that was quite affordable for their lunch, considering they have to save some money for the mission's payment. Oh. Yeah right, but man, can't we at least have some fun? Aka asked as she attacked him with her puppy dog eyes filled with hope. Kenshu shields himself from her eyes as he tells Aka to stop. Aka, stop that. Oh come on. You've gotta understand, we're not here for sightseeing, we have another purpose. I know that. I'm not a child, I could understand what you meant. But can't we at least have one nice moment in Konoha? It's not every day we come here. Tears started to weld up in her eyes. Oh fine, you win, we'll visit a place you like after we've done our business here. Okay? So now stop that, or I won't take you to some ramen stand for lunch, Kenshu said as he tried to persuade her from crying. Ramen? There's ramen here. Alright. Let's eat some. Aka said while she hugs Kenshu. He blushed as he felt her brushed with him slightly and pulled her off him as soon as he felt that. Let's go, he stuttered as he led Aka to the ramen stand he saw earlier. Aka raised her eyebrows, Kenshu only stuttered when he's embarrassed or blushing. She tried hugging one of his arms tightly. Kenshu felt the same feeling again and blushed even deeper. Aka, stop that. Come on. Let me go, we're here now, so let go of my arm, Kenshu stuttered again as he tried to pull his arm from Aka's grasp. She let go of his arm and chuckled softly, he's so cute. She thought as they entered the ramen stand known as Ichiraku. They sat at a table not far from the entrance and called the waitress, formerly known as AM. AM rushed to her two customers and asked the same thing she asked other customers, welcome to the Ichiraku ramen, what would you like? Here's the menu. AM gaped at the boy before her, same spunky blonde hair, same blue eyes. Naruto. Aka, what do you want? He couldn't possibly be him, Naruto. No. He's dead, maybe I'm imagining things, right. Kenshu, I want one miso ramen, right, your favorite flavor of ramen, and as for me, I mean he jumped off the mountain. He couldn't possibly stay alive, could he? I'll take beef ramen. Miss, that would be, is he really Naruto? Miss, you alright? Kenshu asked AM as he shook her shoulders. Huh? Oh I'm sorry, what was your order again? She asked as she took a piece of paper to write on. We'll have a miso ramen and a beef. Maybe he survived the jump. Right. No. They found his body. But it went missing after that, but he's not supposed to be Naruto. Miss. Are you sure you're fine? Kenshu shook her shoulders again. Naruto. Aka looked at the girl and started to get worried. Naruto? Is that you? Miss, what are you talking about? Who's Naruto or whatever the name was? Kenshu started to panic. AM grabbed Naruto's shirt and started to cry on his chest. Naruto, I miss you. I thought you were dead. But you weren't. I really miss you. AM cried desperately. Aka was fuming, how dare she cry on my Kenshu? Wait a minute, did I just say my Kenshu? What the? She was blushing at the thought of how she addressed Kenshu as hers just now. Then she realized that Kenshu cried for her help. She immediately pulled AM from Kenshu and shouted, what do you think you're doing? You cried on someone's chest and he barely knows you. No. He is Naruto. AM shouted louder, causing the situation in the ramen stand to change from peaceful to chaos. Scene break. So you were saying that both of you are not from Konoha, but instead from Wave. And it's your first time here? Tucci, the old owner of Ichiraku, asked Aka and Kenshu after they explained about the chaos that happened 30 minutes ago. Yeah, and then this girl, AM if I'm not mistaken, called me Naruto. Who is this Naruto anyway? Kenshu asked as she took a glance at AM. His head was low. Naruto's a boy, the brightest ninja this village ever had. He used to play pranks on people and fight with them, but he has the kindest soul I've ever seen. Pranks people, but turns out to be the kindest. What's going on here? Aka asked herself. But 4 years ago, he suicide by jumping off the Hokage's mountain. As soon as the words left his mouth, AM stood and walked off to the kitchen, leaving Tucci alone with Aka and Kenshu. Tucci sighed as Kenshu looked at Tucci straight into his eyes. But that doesn't have anything to do with her calling me Naruto, does it? Oh yes, there is. As a matter of fact, I wonder why no one has mistaken you for Naruto yet. Kenshu and Aka voiced their one simple thought. Naruto had this beautiful blue sky eyes and a very spunky blonde hair, just like you. What? Seriously? Kenshu asked. His mouth was slightly opened while Aka had an interested look. Well, I have a photo of him, you could take a look if you want, Tucci said as he took out a small photo from his pockets and handed it to them. Aka took the photo and looked at it, causing her jaw to drop slightly, while Kenshu had this unbelievable look on his face. There in the photo stood a boy who's wearing an orange jumpsuit. He wore a pair of blue sandals and a Konoha on his forehead. He had a weapon holster tied on his right leg's thigh. The boy stood in front of the Ichiraku ramen stand and a huge grinning fox was plastered on his face. His finger was showing a peace sign, but what surprised Kenshu wasn't all this, but the fact that he had blue cerulean eyes and spunky blonde hair like his, just like Tucci said. Surprised you didn't he? Tucci asked, startling Kenshu as he was still in shock. Well yeah, I mean like, we both look like twins. Except that he has those scars on his cheeks. I understand that my daughter and I miss him, he used to be our regular customer and he often cheers us up. Oh well, that's in the past right. I better get going now, I can't leave everything to my daughter alone. Thanks for coming by, eat up your ramen before they get too cold. Oh, and they're free, sorry for the trouble my daughter caused, Tucci said before he left them alone. Aka and Kenshu soon ate their ramen silently. After a while Aka tried to start a conversation. That Naruto guy sure looks like you, though he sure doesn't have any taste in fashions, Aka said as she joked around. Shaka, respect him. He's dead, remember. Kenshu whispered to Aka's ear softly. Oh right. The rest of the day went uneventful not. Aka. Kenshu called her name as he looked at her. She was slurping her miso ramen. Aren't you on a diet? Kenshu. Look at what you did. You made me lose my appetite. Aka said as she gave him a murderous glare. Kenshu looked at her for a moment, then burst out laughing like mad. After a few minutes he calmed down and said, Aka, you know what? You're funny, he chuckled, and cute. Aka blushed when she heard him call her cute. She tried to hide it, but before she could do that he saw her red cheeks. Aka, you're blushing. No. No, I'm not. What makes you think that? She looked at him nervously. Nothing he saw made her face relaxed, but at the same time disappointed. He decided to not ask her about this because he knew he'll receive a lecture about mind your own business and he's already worn out for the day. The next morning, Kenshu woke up quite early, as if he hadn't slept at all. In fact, he only slept for 3 hours. He cursed himself for thinking about Naruto for the rest of the night. There's something about him, I think he's related to me somehow. There I go again, thinking that we're related or something, I mean that's not possible. I've never met him in all my life. At least not for as long as I knew or remember. Kenshu sighed, why did he even bother to think about someone that's already dead? Kenshu stood and walked to the bathroom. He looked at his reflections in the mirror and sighed again. He touched his face somewhere around his cheeks where Naruto in picture had scars. He stared at the mirror for about half an hour. He sighed and turned his head when he screamed so loud that every single human being in the inn and around the building woke up from their sweet deep slumber. Kenshu? What was that scream for? There stood in front of him was a certain red-haired girl named Aka. Oh, Aka. It's you. I thought you were some kind of ghost. What? Me? Ghost? What the? Look, I'm sorry. Kenshu said as he got out from the bathroom followed by Aka. Right, I never knew you scream like a girl. She said, chuckling. I'm not. Am too. I am not. Am too. Why don't you just go and take a bath instead of standing here and shouting all day? Kenshu said as he pointed his index finger towards the bathroom. Maybe you're right. I'll go and take a shower right now. With that said, Aka entered the bathroom, but not before she stuck out her tongue at Kenshu. Kenshu sighed at her childish behavior as she entered the bathroom and locked the door while humming. He stared at the bathroom door before he headed to the window and opened the curtain. He stared at the bright shining sun and had a thought about the name that had haunted him all night. Naruto, huh? Demon. Go away. Die. You horrible creature. Curses could be heard throughout the streets as a young boy ran through them, acting as if nothing had happened, though the pained expressions could be seen in his deep blue eyes. What have I ever done to them? To get all these curses thrown at me? The young blonde boy cried his heart out once he sat on a swing at the academy, accompanied by nothing but silence. Kenshu moaned as he woke up from his slumber. He blinked his eyes a few times to adjust his eyes with the light. He got up and stretched his legs and arms as he yawned loudly. Sheesh, close your mouth when you yawn, he heard a familiar voice he recognized as Ikaru's from behind him. Kenshu ignored her and continued on stretching his limbs before he asked Ikaru the current time. Well, it's 10:30, she said as she looked at her watch. Silence. What? Birds could be seen flying away from the hotel they rented yesterday. 20 minutes later. Come on, we're late. Kenshu said as he ran through the streets towards the Hokage Tower at a very high speed. As he ran, he felt as if the villagers were looking at him in a weird way. He shrugged and brushed that feeling off. Behind him was Ikaru, who was running at the same speed with bread in her hand. Both of them were wearing their usual attire. Late? Late for what? Aka said as she munched her bread. We're supposed to meet the Hokage this morning, remember? He said before he muttered to himself, I can't believe I fell asleep again after I woke up early and had a really weird dream. Well, have you made an appointment to meet the Hokage yet? She said, just to crash into Kenshu who suddenly stopped running. Good point, he said. Ikaru and the villagers around them sweat dropped at Kenshu's antics. She sighed, sometimes Kenshu could be dense. 30 minutes later, they entered the entrance to the Hokage Tower, just to be greeted by the Hokage's assistant, Shizune. Yes, how may I help you? Shizune asked without looking at them. Apparently she's busy doing her works, which half of them were supposed to be done by the lazy cough Hokage, Tsunade. Can we meet the Hokage? Kenshu requested as he rubbed the back of his head, his bad habit that has been there since before he could remember. Shizune looked up and gaped. This can't be real. Is this Naruto? No way. Oh my god. What if he is? Excuse me, miss. His worried expressions dawned on her. Okay, so this is not Naruto. He calls me miss when Naruto calls me Shizune-nichan. Yep. This is not Naruto. Definitely not. Huh? Oh okay, well she's in right now so you could meet her. She? Hikaru and Kenshu raised their eyebrows. Begadim is a female. Don't you know that? Another voice spoke from behind the duo. They turned around just to meet the copycat ninja Kakashi, eye to eye. Kakashi's visible eye went wide as a plate as he looked at both the blonde and red-haired girl. Silence filled the room for a few minutes. Well, we don't. Anyway, thanks. Is this the way to the Hokage's office? Aka asked, pointing to the stairs, breaking the tension that was built the minute the Cyclops ninja came into the room. The two of them went up the stairs before neither Kakashi or Shizune had the time to answer Hikaru's question. A few minutes after they left, Kakashi turned and faced Shizune. Who is he? He can't be Naruto, can he? Shizune shook her head. I don't know, but Kenshu and Hikaru. Wow, this place is big. Aka said in awe as she looked at the entrance to the Hokage's chamber. Yep, it sure is, what Kenshu said as he knocked the wooden door a few times. She quickly ran by Kenshu's side and waited for the Hokage's response. But Tsunade was sound asleep in her rightful chair when she heard the door knock. Who dares to disturb my slumber? She thought as she groaned, stretching her arms. She motioned for the person to come in and got ready to throw something at them for disturbing her sleeps when both Kenshu and Hikaru come in, a voice could be heard from inside the room. Hikaru and Kenshu nodded to each other before they opened the door and walked into the room just to find a woman with blonde hair holding a duster in her right hand in a weird position. The three of them blinked, Tsunade because the boy who resembles Naruto had surprised her, Kenshu and Hikaru because of the weird woman who was holding a duster. Silence filled the room for a few minutes before Kenshu found the strength to ask the blonde goddess. What are you doing? Why are you holding a duster? Tsunade quickly hid the duster and laughed in a fake way. Ho 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 ho, what are you talking about? There's no duster here. Both Kenshu and Hikaru sweat dropped at her antics and thought, she's weird. After a minute, Tsunade stopped laughing and stared at Kenshu. Hikaru, noticing this, quickly caught Tsunade's attention, for she doesn't want another chaos to arise, remembering what the old man Tucci had said last night. Are you the Hokage? Tsunade turned and looked at the red-haired girl carefully before she answered her question. Well yes, I am Tsunade, the 5th Hokage of Konohagakure. That reminds me, what brings you two here? We're here to request some help to eliminate a group of bandits, Aka said as she and Kenshu made themselves comfortable in the chairs that were placed opposite of Tsunade's. Tsunade arched her eyebrow before she nodded. Explain. Kenshu looked at Hikaru and nodded at her before he started the explanation. I'm Kenshu and she's Hikaru. Both of us originated from Chizuru village, a small non-shinobi village located in Wave Country. You probably never heard of it before since it's a pretty small, isolated village. It's a peaceful village too. However, it all changed when a group of bandits of 25 came and destroyed our farm, our source of food and income. They're so strong that even we, the best fighter of the village, can't defeat them. Fortunately, they only stay at our village for a week before they leave the village for 2 months, but they will come back later and steal everything from us again. That's why our grandfather, also the elder of the village, decided to send us and ask for help to kill the bandits because we can't keep on living like this. It's been a month since the bandits left our village, they'll come back most likely a month from now. I see, then this will be a B-rank mission, Tsunade said as she wrote the details of this mission on a piece of paper. Hikaru stood and put a pouch of money on the table. We're willing to pay everything we have. Tsunade sighed and looked at Kenshu. He looks like Naruto. She took the pouch and counted the money. Then she divided the money into two and put half of it back into the pouch and handed it back to Hikaru while she kept the other half. Kenshu and Hikaru were dumbfounded by Godim's actions. Tsunade noticed their looks and said, since I'm being generous today, I'll only take half of the payment. Seeing Hikaru and Kenshu's happy face, she continued, however, I can only conform and give you the team of shinobi tomorrow. I hope that's okay with the two of you. Kenshu and Hikaru smiled at Tsunade and expressed their gratitude, arigato, Hokage-sama, before they walked out of the room. Tsunade slumped on her chair and thought, that Kenshu boy looks a lot like Naruto, but the way he behaves told me that he's not Naruto. Then again, my heart's feelings told me that he is Naruto. Man, it's so complicated. I really miss my little brother. A tear started to caress Tsunade's cheek. But Kenshu and Hikaru, she's not that bad, you know. At first I thought she's useless, unreliable, and everything, but she's the other way around, except for the unreliable part. She really looks like a person who loves to gamble and drink, Aka said as she exited the Hokage tower. Yep, I agree, Kenshu simply said. But Tsunade, but you. Someone must be talking bad about me, Tsunade said as she rubbed her nose. With Kenshu and Hikaru, they were walking to the Hokage mountains, since Kenshu promised Hikaru that they could visit the place after they met the Hokage. Hikaru was humming happily beside Kenshu while Kenshu walked. Suddenly Hikaru jumped. Kenshu noticed this and asked, "What's wrong?" You forgot to teach me a new jutsu." Aka shouted in a happy tone. "Oh shit," Kenshu cursed himself. How could he forget? Well, the problem is, why must she remember? "Come on, teach me now. Forget the Hokage mountains, just teach me something," she said as she pulled Kenshu's sleeves towards the training ground near a certain bridge, which currently were occupied by Team 7. "And you just forget that little incident." Kenshu sighed as he followed Hikaru to the training ground. Knowing her, she won't let me off that easily. She'll do anything she can to get me teach her some. Hello? You almost killed me. If that's what you meant by saying little incident, you must be out of your mind. That was nowhere near little, she said as she looked at Kenshu in "Are you mad?" kind of way. Alright. I get it, come on then, Kenshu said as he ruffled his own hair. They walked towards the training ground and found two figures sparring at the ground. One with black hair and a blue shirt with a pair of white shorts, while the other one wore a white tank top and a black skirt with cherry pink hair. But Sasuke and Sakura. "Boy Sakura, wanna spar?" Sasuke asked as he went into a taijutsu stance. Sakura smirked. "Bring it on, Sasuke," she said before her hands formed a few seals. Birinsei no jutsu. A stream of purple gas was shot out from Sakura's mouth. Sasuke prepared himself for the attack but found out that the gas was weird. He dodged at the last minute but still got caught up in the purple gas. He quickly covered his mouth and jumped out of the cloud of gas. Damn it. It's a poisonous gas. Sasuke felt a little dizzy as he crouched down on his knees and was kicked in the stomach by Sakura. A few seconds after the blow, Sasuke burst into smoke. Sakura, alerted by the sudden burst of smoke, quickly jumped away and landed on a branch with a fuse in her hand. TCH, a clone. Not bad, Sakura. She received a blow on her right shoulder and burst into smoke, revealing a log. Kawarimi, Sasuke thought when he heard Kaiten. "Housenka no," he smirked, "trying to beat me with fire in your dreams," he countered back with the same. Kaiten. Housenka no jutsu. Fireballs were blown into the center of the battlefield from both sides, creating large explosions. Sakura threw a few at him and controlled the using chakra thread. She could still pinpoint the exact location of Sasuke, even though he was still covered in smoke. Sasuke sensed the and created a few shadow clones, then leapt to different directions. Each of Sakura's kunai followed a Sasuke clone. After a few minutes of Sakura chasing Sasuke's clones, she finally dismissed her chakra thread and formed another set of seals. Suiton. Suryuiten no jutsu. The large water dragon was formed using the existing water from the river near the training ground. The water dragon charged at Sasuke and his clones, which were visible by now. Damn. Sasuke cursed as he released his training weights, resulting in an incredible speed that helped him escape the water dragon's assault and got him standing right behind Sakura. "Techmate," he said as he placed a kunai at Sakura's throat. Sakura slumped on the ground. "Man, how come I can't beat you?" Sasuke placed his kunai in his shuriken holster and sat beside her. "You're good, you actually forced me to release my weights, and that's something." Sakura took out a small bottle containing a few drops of orange liquid and handed it to Sasuke. "Here, drink this up so that the poisonous gas earlier won't seriously affects you." Sasuke smiled at her as he opened the bottle. "Thanks, Sakura, but Kenshu and Hikaru, they're good," Aka said as she munched some Pockies. Who knows where she got it from. "But not that good, the two of us together could beat them," Kenshu said as he turned around and walked off to another training ground. Hikaru, noticing his action, followed closely behind. She knew that Kenshu hates it when someone spies on their training. Which means Kenshu only shows his techniques and skills to no one but Hikaru, their grandfather, and his opponents. Even though they're not ninja, that doesn't mean they can't train some. In fact, they trained a lot to protect their village. Too bad the two of them can't beat the bandits because they were outnumbered. "Scene break, this place would do," Kenshu said as he took off his cloak and placed it on a branch of a tree. He cracked his knuckles and did a quick warm-up. Hikaru did the same thing before she went into a taijutsu stance. "Ninjutsu and taijutsu, 3 in 1, are you okay with that?" "You're on." After the spar. "Damn it. Arg. My clothes are all wet." Aka shouted angrily as she struggled to stand. Her hair and clothes were drenched. Not far from her was Kenshu, who was leaning against a tree. His clothes were partly torn, but that's pretty much. He chuckled before he walked to the soaked girl, "And that's the I'm going to teach you." Hikaru sighed deeply before she took off her purple tank top, revealing her well-curved body, even though she wore bandages around her body. Kenshu blushed and turned his attention away from her. Sure, they lived together under the same roof, but that doesn't mean that he was used to seeing her like this. "Meanie," she thought before she talked to him, "do you really have to do this to me? I mean, I know that the fastest way to learn something is by experiencing it, but Kenshu, are you listening to me?" She rolled her eyes when she found Kenshu's back on her. Even though she could barely see his face, she could still see the red tint of blush on his cheeks. She smiled and thought, well, at least he's not a pervert. A few minutes later they were standing in the center of the training ground, facing each other. Hikaru had her purple tank top on, even if it's still wet. Her red hair was let down and had framed her face perfectly. Kenshu on the other hand was still cloakless. He smiled at Hikaru. Tell me, what do you understand about that? Hikaru placed her hand at her chin and wondered loudly, well, it seems to me that you used an amount of chakra to control and manipulate a certain amount of water before you compress it into a sphere and strike it to me. Kenshu nodded at her analysis. True, that's what I did. But they could do more than that. He took a deep breath before he continued. There are 3 steps in this. First, you need to control and manipulate the water using your chakra, just like you said. Second, you compress the water into a form, but a sphere is not the only form you could compress it into. You could make a katana, sword, kunai, shuriken, spear, needle, or any other weapons you could think of out of it. The third step is the most interesting part. After you form the water into a weapon, you could use your chakra to solidify it or make the water stay intact for as long as you can, depending on the size of your chakra reserve. Otherwise, you could just compress and form the water into anything you want and strike your opponent, just like what I did to you. He smirked at the sight of Hikaru's face, which was in awe. That is pretty useful, especially for those who use weapons. Even if they don't, it could still be used as an attack. The power it released was quite powerful. Hikaru smiled at the thought of her learning this. There are some drawbacks though. This requires a very good chakra control, otherwise the user can't manipulate the water, let alone form something out of it. You also need water or else it won't work. This goes to everyone except for the high-level ninjas, since they could condense the water molecules in the air to make some water. And before I forget, the is called Suiton. Yuki Saujuu no Jutsu, water technique. Weapon manipulation. Weird, I've never heard of it before. Kenshu chuckled at this. That's because I was the one who created this. Silence, you've gotta be kidding me. I've never seen you practiced it before. Aka shouted in disbelief. Kenshu created this? No way in hell. She thought. Well, it's one of my personal favorites. And surely you know that I prefer to keep my personal information to myself rather than spreading a word about it. His words made Hikaru wonder, why would he teach me one of his personal things then? She couldn't find the answer within her mind, so she asked him, her source of answers. Well, I'm not sure myself, maybe because we've known each other for years. His words made Hikaru blushed and thought, he didn't mean anything special, did he? After a while Kenshu told her to start by forming the water into a sphere instead of weapons, for it was much easier. Hikaru agreed and followed his instructions on mastering the. Just like he explained earlier, she must first manipulate the water. It was pretty easy, really. All she had to do was release some of her chakra after she did the hand seals that Kenshu showed her before, and she can manipulate an amount of water that was equivalent to the amount of her used chakra. However, the next part was harder than she thought. She can't seem to grasp the concept of maintaining the water into the shape of a sphere. Damn. It's harder than I thought. Does this mean that my chakra control isn't good enough? After a while Hikaru started to feel tired. Most of her chakra had been used up for this training. She almost fell due to her tired legs when Kenshu caught her around her waist, just like the night when they arrived at Konoha. I think that's enough for today. Come on, let's go back to the hotel, he said as he carried Hikaru in bridal style. Hikaru managed an eep. At first before she blushed, realizing that Kenshu was carrying her in bridal style. It was like a dream come true for her, and she sure as hell liked it. Her daydreams however were interrupted when a Chunin suddenly appeared before them. Kenshu and Hikaru, I assume? Chunin asked. They nodded, unsure of what to say. Chunin smiled and said, Hokage-sama asked me to tell you that she already had a shinobi team that you requested. Please meet them at the main gate tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Kenshu muttered a quick thanks to the Chunin before he disappeared, leaving them alone. Kenshu continued their way to the hotel while Hikaru, who was in his arms, sighed deeply. We're leaving Konoha already? It's way too soon. The rest of the day went uneventful. The next morning, come on Aka, we're going to be late. Kenshu said as he ran out of the hotel with Aka right behind him. Each of them was carrying a backpack and of course they were wearing their usual attire. They ran to the main gate at a high speed and reached there in 5 minutes when it normally takes 20 minutes. They found a group of shinobi consisting of 6 people waiting for them. By the looks of them Kenshu guessed that the 2 tall guys were. One of them was wearing a black mask that covered the bottom part of his face with his forehead protector covering his eye. Hikaru recognized him as the Cyclops ninja. The others however were wearing a very tight green spandex and had a bowl haircut. The 4 others must be Chunins, Kenshu thought. One of them had pineapple hair and a very lazy look on his face. He was wearing something a Chunin would wear. The other guy however had long black hair that was tied loosely. He had a pair of white silver eyes. Kenshu was rather nervous at the sight of his pupil-less eyes. Both Kenshu and Ikaru however recognized the other two ninjas. They were the sparring ninjas that he and Ikaru saw the day before, the guy with black hair and a blue shirt with a pair of white shorts and the girl that wore a white tank top and a black skirt with cherry pink hair. "Sorry we're late," Kenshu said in between his breaths. The Konoha Shinobi's eyes widen at the sight of Kenshu and Ikaru, except for Kakashi that is. After a few minutes of silence, the pink-haired girl spoke. "Naruto, thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara."